Good morning, I'm Catherine Game. I'm the Executive Director of Rushford Center at Ryerson Woods. And we want to welcome you to this Leadership Roundtable on accelerating health, equity, and nature in Lake County. So, very exciting. I know it's the morning, we're all still having our coffee, but let's just do a big round of applause to everybody in this room. Your voices to the table, metaphorically and quite literally, later on. I want to begin by remembering and honoring this land as the ancestral home of Algonquian-speaking peoples. We celebrate their traditions and culture and their immemorial ties to this place. And in honoring this history, we encourage each of us to rethink our relationship with the environment and the histories of all peoples, and to challenge the legacies of settler colonialism in our societies, which is, in many ways, what today is all about. So, in the spirit of being present today, I'd like to ask everybody to silence your cell phones, please. Always a good move. This guy. I just want to thank you all for being here. And to begin with some gratitude, there's a lot of folks who put work into today's event. And I want to start with our Rushford Center team, our panelists who are with us this morning, and our partners who just put a lot of thought into today's program. Particularly to Danny Aboud and Natalia Ospina, Natalia directs Natalia directs our Health, Equity, and Nature Accelerator, which just launched this year, which is very exciting. And you'll get to hear more from her in just a little bit. Also, a very special thanks to Belarus Catering, who provided this incredible meal this morning. And to the wonderful Greenbelt team for helping make this event run so smoothly with our many logistical components. So we really appreciate that. And also a special thanks to the Walder Foundation and the Morrison Family Foundation for supporting this work. And to our two videographers today, Brandon Hayes from Bold Bison and Emmett Williams with Mission Man Media for capturing today's event via film. So, some of you are familiar with Rushford Center. For those who aren't, our mission is really rooted in this belief in the healing power of art and nature. And when it comes to nature, Lake County is incredible. You can just look outside. Really home to some of the healthiest and most biologically diverse ecosystems in the state, alongside an extremely rich cultural landscape. But we also recognize that racism and injustice have created deep inequities that impact how people experience nature, as well as how they're impacted by environmental issues here. And we know that people's lives are cut short because of these inequities, right? Like literally right here in this community. Black and Latino communities, especially in Northeast Lake County, are disproportionately exposed to the impacts of climate change, as well as industrial pollution, including one of the oldest coal-fired power plants in the nation. Many people knew that. As well as 5 toxic Superfund sites, representing nearly half of those in Illinois. Our communities also face barriers to accessing some of Lake County's most amazing natural assets, like beaches, forest preserves, and parks. And we see the impacts of that. The average life expectancy of residents in North Chicago is 14 years less than that of Lake Forest residents, fewer than 5 miles away. And where you live should not determine how long you live. Definitely. That is why we gather today, because each of you are part of this solution. What do you think? Are we going to solve all these problems today in one conversation? Probably not, but today we can take steps forward. We want to learn together. We want to get to know each other, build relationships, and to help identify opportunities to improve the health of people and the environment here in Lake County. So some of you attended our roundtable last year. Looked a little different since it was on Zoom. So this is really our first in-person gathering on these issues. And we really want to thank you, all of those who participated last year, because that input was so valuable. You can read the full results of the roundtable as well as our additional research at rushfordcenter.org. But that event, alongside input from many of you, helped to spur this year's focus, which is on community action. And you'll really see this in the panel later today. And all of this work is moving us toward a health, equity, and nature report and action plan for Lake County. I wanted to share, now that we've all had a little bit of coffee, get our brain cells going more on this topic. We really love this graphic, which is from the Wellbeing Trust Thrive Agenda. And this really shows the intersectionality of nature and the environment with so many other aspects of well-being and justice. And you see it here, but you see it on the ground. These issues are all interconnected. The pandemic has really reinforced this interconnection, as well as how racism, classism, and even ageism impact so many people's access to these vital conditions. So today, when we think about access to a clean environment and nature, this is our challenge. We want to think about solutions that are intersectional, that touch multiple components, and that are systemic. In other words, we're looking at the root cause of the issues, and not just Band-Aids. And so, throughout this morning, from the panel, to the folks you meet at your table, to the input you share, we challenge you to think very intentionally about your role in collaborating and partnering on these issues. Perhaps you work with a community organization engaging in on-the-ground solutions, or a clinic, or a hospital system. You might be an elected official with the ability to make policies, a funder who can invest in this work, or a student or researcher who can help illuminate data and community perspectives. We're grateful to each of you for being here and for bringing your voices to the table. And so, at this time, I'd like to welcome our Master of Ceremonies for today, Marvin Bembry. Marvin serves as the Executive Director of the Maxwell Leadership Certified Team, where he coaches individuals and groups in areas of leadership, development, professional skills, and personal growth. He will be coaching us today in our conversations. Marvin served in corporate, civic, and leadership roles, and we really thank you, Marvin, for being a part of today. So please join me.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
What a pleasure, excuse me, what a pleasure to be here today and to welcome all of you. I'd like to take my hat off, proverbially speaking, to Catherine and the Rushford Center and all of the sister organizations that are part of this incredible meeting. I was remarking earlier that there seemed to be a buzz in the air as we were readying to get started. And those of you that were part of our kickoff last year noted that while it was good, it was impactful, it was via Zoom or virtual, and there's only so much buzz that you can generate virtually, right? But today, we're here a year later, and we're really going to examine again some of those prescient questions that we talked about last year. This issue is one that is of significant importance to this local community and to the world. Catherine's opening remarks, I thought, were particularly provocative, that one zip code affects one's health outcomes, and that residents in this community live on average about 14 years less than just 5 miles away. Did that strike you? Did that ring a bell that said something's not right with that, right? And so that's why we're here, to examine the intersectionality of health and equity and race and all of those factors that really do make such an important difference. And it's my pleasure to serve you again today as your MC. Today, my first responsibility will be to hurry on the agenda because we are a little bit behind, right? And I'm very happy to introduce some friends of mine for years now, and that is some of our elected officials who are going to make some remarks, some greetings to you in their important and respective roles. But also, we've asked them to weigh in on a really salient question. My mentor, John Maxwell, who's the leading authority on the subject of leadership, says that leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And so in their respective leadership roles, we've asked them to weigh in on the question of how they can use their leadership role, their influence, to affect these issues around health and equity and environmental justice. And so in their remarks, they'll answer those questions as well. Then we'll go into some of our panel discussion. They'll exit the table, and then your panelists will be coming up and we'll explore some of this in further detail. So without further ado, we're going to welcome our elected officials. Let's give them all a hand for them coming out. I'll just say a few words about all of them, and then they will come in the order. Angelo Kyle. Angelo Kyle is the president of the Lake County Forest Preserves District, and as a member of the board, he represents the 14th District, which includes areas like Waukegan and North Chicago. Mr. Kyle has been a part of the Lake County leadership team for a number of years, going back to 1990. We won't ask him how old he was at that time, but probably just a teenager, right? And he serves on the Diversity and Inclusion, Ethics and Oversight Legislative Committees of the Lake County Board. Very happy to have Mr. Kyle. Mayor Rockingham was elected as mayor of North Chicago in 2005. He is a lifelong resident of the city of North Chicago, married to Yvonne Rockingham, graduated here locally from North Chicago High School, is a family man, man of faith, and is a retiree from AT&T with 31 years. So very, very important leader in our community. And last is our state senator, Adrian Johnson, who was sworn in as our first Black state senator from Lake County to represent the country. Johnson, who I've had the pleasure of knowing before she became a senator, is just an incredible human being. She has a lot of accolades, served in leadership in Buffalo Grove, currently the chair of the Illinois Association of Park District Board of Trustees. Just a wonderful list of civic involvement, but I'm happy also to call Ms. Johnson, as well as Mayor Rockingham, and Mr. Kyle, friends of mine. So let's welcome them all one more time. Commissioner Kyle.
Thank you. Good morning and welcome to the Greenbelt Cultural Center in the Greenbelt Forest Preserve. Tucked into Lake County's most urban area, this 595-acre preserve is an island of green that is home to a large variety of plants as well as animals. While walking on any of the 5 miles of trails, you will pass the extensive natural resource restoration work the district has completed in the last few years. We are removing non-native invasive plants and replacing them with native grasses, trees, and shrubs. As these new plantings have taken hold, we have seen an increase in both biodiversity and the health benefits that its green space provides for the community. But our work isn't done yet. At a recent meeting, the Board of Commissioners doubled down on their commitment to continue to work here, pledging to a project that restores the ecosystems at the Greenbelt to their highest level of function, providing clean air, purifying groundwater, and creating a healthy place for the community to gather. Work here has happened and will continue to support from the community, both financial and through hours of volunteer service. We couldn't do it without community involvement. On the largest scale, the Lake County Forest Preserve District is focused on creating healthy, climate resilient landscapes throughout Lake County and making connections to communities, making these open spaces easily available to every resident of Lake County. My members of the Lake County Forest Preserve Board of Commissioners and the district staff understand the important role we play in providing preserves that offer environmentally healthy spaces that give all residents a safe place to rejuvenate mentally, physically, and emotionally. Again, welcome to the Greenbelt Cultural Center, the crown jewel of the Greenbelt Forest Preserve.
Good morning. How's everyone? Good. I want to thank Brushwood for hosting this roundtable, and I want to thank Marvin for that question in regards to how do I influence environmental justice. You know, as I look back on things that I've done, first thing that comes to mind, what Marvin has spoke of. City of North Chicago, a small minority community surrounded by a lot of affluent communities. And how does that affect my city? And how does it affect the residents of North Chicago? How we have to deal with. You know, I was an alderman back in 1989, and to listen to some of the things that were going on as we tried to elevate our community by bringing in new homes. And first thing the realtor and the contractor said to us is, we'll try to bring these homes in, but they're going to be redlined, and you won't get the opportunity like you need. So that right there sparked a time where I realized that things are different in our community as they are in other communities. You know, when I heard from the agencies that they wanted to bring an incinerator here in, you know, they were looking for where to place an incinerator in Lake County. And the first place they pointed to was North Chicago. Why North Chicago when there's so many other areas that were outside even residential areas, but they wanted to bring it to North Chicago? These are the things that when you talk about environment and environmental justice, things that were affected our community. So when I became mayor in 2005, one of the first things that I told myself is I have to be on boards, and the city of North Chicago has to sit on boards to know how things are going to be affected in my community and to make sure that we have a seat at the table. Because when you have a seat at the table, then you can have, you know, a voice at the table to make changes. From the city of North Chicago, that's what I proceeded to do. You know, I had an opportunity to sit on the Illinois Municipal League board and was the first black president of that board, because I knew that issues not only in Lake County but throughout the state of Illinois were affected, and having an opportunity to speak. You know, North Chicago is home to many excellent companies and other agencies. You know, we have the James A. Lovell Healthcare Center here in North Chicago. We have Abbott Laboratories. We have ADV. You know, we have Rosalind Franklin University, healthcare. And these are all things that I know as mayor that I have to be around and put my input in to make sure that North Chicago has the opportunity that we so deserve. COVID hit, and we all know what happened in COVID. Everything shut down. And I want to thank the Lake County Health Department because, and ADVI, because when you're involved and are in these different places, you have an opportunity to make a difference. And we work with the Lake County Health Department, the North Chicago Community Partners, Greenbelt Cultural Center, right here. We offered vaccinations for 65 and older to make sure that our residents in North Chicago, Waukegan, and the surrounding areas got vaccinated. So when you talk about environmental justice, we took a part to make sure that our seniors 65 and older were vaccinated. It made a big difference within our community. I sit on the board for the Northwest Lake Forest Hospital Patient, Family, and Advisory Council. That way I know that sitting on that board at the Northwestern Hospital has an opportunity to make sure that residents from North Chicago, surrounding communities, minority communities, have an opportunity to get the proper health care at the hospital that they need, and just have a small influence to make sure that our voices are heard. What are going on in North Chicago? We're bringing in North Chicago our first farmers market here within our community to make sure that our residents have an opportunity for fresh vegetables, fresh fruits, to get it on that table so that not only the adults but the children have that healthy opportunity to have a healthy diet. These are some of the things. I know you said keep it to 2 minutes. I think I might have passed that. But, these are some of the things that we are here in the city of North Chicago are making sure that we have that opportunity. Also Catholic Charities, so that people can, through Catholic Charities, have a good meal. And through Catholic Charities, there's Meals on Wheels that are affected here in North Chicago. Matter of fact, I deliver once a month to make sure that some of the residents of North Chicago have that meal, and some of them may be the only meal that day they may have. So, we continue to move forward. I have a few others. I know Midwest Veterans Closet, we help that resident and veterans have an opportunity to have food, clothing here within our city, and just, I think these are just some of the things that we have to, here in the city of North Chicago, make sure that our residents, veterans, and our seniors have an opportunity to have good and proper health and throughout. So thank you so much.
I was thinking of trying to figure out if I was going to take off my mask, but good morning everyone, and thank you Catherine and the Brushwood for hosting this roundtable, and of course I want to thank Marvin Bembry for your leadership too, and we go back a ways back, so thank you so much. I'm just happy to have the opportunity to make a few brief remarks, and then I'll answer Marvin's question at the end of my remarks. I am pleased that Illinois is leading the nation in our efforts to reduce carbon emissions and combat climate change. This year, our state is investing in programs to not only make sure our environment is protected, but also to transition jobs and ensure our economy is supported in our green future. Local advocacy is critical in these efforts, and I work in collaboration with community groups and stakeholders to advance our clean energy agenda in Springfield. And I just want to share at a very high level some of the funding that's going into these various programs as we are in the process of implementing the Clean Energy and Equitable Jobs Act, CEJA. So clean energy initiatives for fiscal year 23, $7 million to enforce the Clean Air and Energy Transition Act through the Environmental Protection Agency. And I know you've all have Eddie's book, and there's a line about making sure we have clean air, clean water, and so that's really important. $13.7 million to support the Energy Transition Act through the Illinois Power Agency, $55 million to promote economic development, including funds to support zero-emission vehicle manufacturing, clean energy, and supply chain manufacturing, $200 million to implement provisions in the 2021 Energy Transition Act, and $28 million to support coal to solar and energy storage grant programs through the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. And this will establish apprenticeship training programs and contractor accelerator and programs to train soon to be released incarcerated people for clean energy sector jobs. And this is to encourage new and diverse participation in a clean energy job space. I'm so pleased that Waukegan would be home to one of 13 of these statewide workforce development training hubs. Also, $2 million to create the Climate Job Institute at the University of Illinois to produce high-quality, accurate research on labor, employment, and economic impacts on decarbonizing the state's economy. And the Department of Central Management Services, there will be $30 million to jumpstart conversion of the state vehicle fleet to zero emission and deploy electrical charging infrastructure throughout Illinois. So some other statewide initiatives. So back in May, the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency announced it will put $84.4 million to invest in electric transportation and infrastructure, including $27 million for transit, $27 million for school buses, $16 million for freight trucks, and $12.7 million for charging stations. And focusing on some of the capital plan initiatives, so IDOT was awarded nearly $150 million from the Federal Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act through the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Formula Program to support expansion of an EV charging network. Now, from what I described, that's how I'm leveraging the way that I can influence, to help advance health and access to a thriving environment resulting in environmental justice for all. And by continue to advance, what I will do is continue to advance legislation to support this that will prioritize people and health and well-being of residents throughout Illinois, particularly in this region. And so as I mentioned at the beginning of my remarks, I will work in collaboration with community groups so that we can continue to advance the clean energy agenda in Springfield. And so again, focus right now is CEJA implementation, and I rattled off a few numbers and important numbers to support this effort. Thank you.
Thank you to all of our panelists for providing their perspective in terms of their leadership role in terms of influencing the outcome around health, equity, and environmental justice. We're very happy to have Ms. Sandy Hart, who is the chair of the Lake County Board, and so we would be remiss in not having Ms. Hart provide some remarks as well. Thank you very much for joining us today, Ms. Sandy.
Thank you, and that's very kind of you, and I also want to thank President Kyle for including me this morning at this table, because I was just going to sit down back there, and he said, no, please come up and speak for a moment. So I do want to make sure that, and Marvin kindly had them raise their hands, but there's 3 people who serve on the county board, and of course on the Forest Preserve Board, and that is former president of the Forest Preserve Board, Ann Main, Carissa Caspin, and John Wasik. So. We really do have an incredible board that is focused on the environment, recognizes that climate change is real, and recognizes that the communities that are most impacted with climate change are the low-income communities. So one of the things that the Forest Preserve, I think, has already started working on, and we're looking at the county as well, is utilizing a racial equity inclusion tool. The city of Chicago utilizes that, so when they have new policies or changes to existing policies, they use this tool to recognize what is the impact to low-income people, minority groups, and how can we better maybe shift policy to make a difference for the people in those communities. So one of the things that we're also looking at is the addition of trees using our ARPA dollars, and that was presented by members Jessica Volitzik and member Paul Frank, and saying, hey, how can we make sure that we are planting trees in these low-income communities using ARPA dollars? So I think that is an innovative idea. We know it's really necessary. I don't know if you guys have read the article in the Chicago Tribune, I think it was just over the weekend, about how low-income communities just don't have trees and how it really matters. But really I would say we all want walkable, bikeable communities. That's really important. I saw a sidewalk extension going in on Green Bay Road in front of Midwest Veterans Closet, which is also going to be a bus shelter. So there's a lot of little work that can be done that can make a difference, but a lot of big things too. And I'm grateful to President Kyle for allowing me to say a few words this morning. Thank you.
Absolutely. Let's give all elected officials a hand, those that are at the dais, as well as those that have joined us today. Thank you very much for your leadership and your influence. Thank you. And Angelo and Mayor, thank you for mentioning that Sandy here. I wasn't going to forget her.
Okay.
Thanks so much, everybody.
I need your support.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Wow. Isn't it exciting that we don't have to reinvent the wheel with many of our elected leaders? They are already there. They're understanding the issue, the challenge, and the opportunity. And so we really value and appreciate each one of them that are here today. Well, we have a panel that's going to share with us some additional thoughts and ideas from people that are kind of in the game, who are invested in it. That's their passion, their life is around making a difference in this space. And so we're very pleased to have this panel, which includes Natalia Ospina, Director of Health Equity for Rushwood, Eddie Flores, Co-Chair, Steering Committee, Clean Power, Lake County, Anna Yankovic, forgive me, Interim Strategic Planning and Partnership Manager, Lake County Health Department. Also Barbara Waller, Executive Director of Cool Learning, and Sam Salcido, Health Educator of Erie Family Health. Did I miss someone there? Is Kimberly here yet? I don't see her. Is Kimberly here? All right, so perhaps Kimberly will be joining us there as well, all right? After hearing the what, after hearing the why, each one of us is going to be challenged on kind of moving forward in this work. So without further ado, we're going to ask Natalie to open us up with your comments. I'm sorry, Natalia. Why am I calling you Natalie? Natalia, forgive me.
Is this on? Okay. My name is Natalia Ospina. I use the pronouns she, her, hers, yeah. And I'm the Director of Health Equity and Nature Accelerator here at Brushwood, which is quite a mouthful and kind of overwhelming at times, but I think it also speaks to how, with my identity, I can't think of one word to describe myself. So I am many of things, as we all are. I'm an herbalist, I'm a creator, I love helping people embrace their natural hair. I'm many of things, and my love for the outdoors has changed a lot in the last few years, and I've worked in public health in the last 9 years in many different facets. So most recently managed the COVID-19 outbreak response for the city of Denver, and have always thought, I love the outdoors, but I don't understand why in public health we're not actually implementing any of these nature-based solutions. And so, to give you a little bit of background to my story and my why, I moved to Colorado 6 years ago and started experiencing the great outdoors in this very traditional way of hiking and biking and climbing, and thought, there are people that look like me and this really upsets me. And so I started volunteering with an organization called Latino Outdoors, and basically their mission is to get Latinos outside. And they hold a national camp out every year. It's actually where I'll be next week, and it'll be my 5th time coming, and I've never felt so in community like that camp out, where there's just leaders from all over the country who have experienced this feeling of being othered and feeling like, I'm not white enough, I'm not Latina enough, but that space of being in the outdoors and in that community is something that I hope you all get to experience if you haven't. And so Brushwood very serendipitously fell into my lap, and I thought, this is the work that I want to do. I don't understand why these two things are so siloed and why there's not collaboration between the two. And so to tell you a little bit about Brushwood, we leverage the arts and nature to essentially just create a feeling of being well. This is really the passion of my work, is that everybody has the right to be well. I believe that's a human right. And that's very different for every single person. And so we do a lot of programming, a lot of outdoor education programming with veterans, as well as with youth, as well as with the arts and music. And now we're launching an accelerator to kind of combine these 3 efforts. And so there's 3 components to this. So one of them that I'll talk more in depth later is a health equity and nature report. And then the next thing is we're hoping to create a pilot program. So essentially putting this hypothesis to the test, that we know the outdoors is good for us. How do we actually prove this with data? And then finally, we hope to create professional development opportunities for healthcare professionals to really feel empowered to take people outside and give them the tools and the information to go outside. So I'm really happy that you all are here, and I'll pass it to Eddie.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Eddie. I'm a college student, but I'm also the co-chair of Clean Fire Lake County. And so Clean Fire Lake County is committed to local action for environmental justice, racial justice, and economic justice, as well as being committed to, I just started writing that off, but basically what that means is that we focus on a lot of different areas, mainly, there's a lot of issues, environmental justice issues here in Lake County, mainly Waukegan, North Chicago, Park City, Zion area that affect those areas more. And so we're on a few different, we're on the Illinois Clean Jobs Coalition, so we do work at the state level to try and implement solutions, through government. We're working at the federal level on a few different issues, and I can talk about this more later on, but, like Catherine mentioned earlier, the coal plant, I believe she mentioned coal ash ponds, but tackling those issues that, significantly impact health issues. A little bit on why I got involved. Growing up here in Waukegan, 1 in 3 kids have asthma or asthma-like symptoms. And so for me, playing during recess, playing soccer, playing tag, freeze tag, whatever, all the fun recess games, an asthma attack was bound to happen sooner or later, and I just remember having memories of, friends, starting to get their asthma attacks and just having to run to a teacher, someone who's out there, an adult, so we can get them their inhaler, and not understanding why. It was just a response you kind of had to do, and it wasn't until a few years ago when one of my close friends was hospitalized for 2 weeks because of an asthma attack that I really connected the dots and realized that it's because of the coal plant that's 5 miles away. It just significantly impacts our health so vastly and greatly. And so that's kind of why I started doing this work. I mean, there's also like the climate crisis, that's really scary. Wildfires, sea levels rising, and we don't really see much of that here. We're starting to feel the heat. I mean, this past week, 90 degrees, it's insane. But what I realized was that these issues are affecting BIPOC communities first, like mine. The coal plant is, that's an environmental justice issue that's not only polluting air, but it's significantly affecting communities like mine, communities of color first. And that's happening worldwide. And so that's kind of a little bit more on why I got involved and why this work is so important to me.
can see you all. Good morning still, everybody. My name is Anna Yankelev. I am the Strategic Planning and Partnerships Manager at the Lake County Health Department. And one of my primary roles at the Health Department is to oversee our CHIP, or the Community Health Improvement Plan, which you can think of like the strategic plan for the community's health. So my job is to help bring all of our community partners together and help align their work in ways that support a shared vision for health and health equity in Lake County. On the personal level, I have always been someone that loves being in nature, that sees the value of being in nature, whether that is for my own mental health, being outside, the calming, restorative, rejuvenative sense that I get when I'm out in nature, or for fitness opportunities, hiking, biking, walking, whatever that may be. I know for myself how much access to nature and green spaces affects my health and well-being. And as an employee of the Lake County Health Department, I am so grateful to be able to help support this type of access, because we believe at the Health Department in health equity, and that means that we are responsible for assuring the conditions of optimal health for all. And when we assure those conditions, that means assuring that people have access to nature, to green spaces, and that they have the ability to experience those things without the threat of an asthma attack, without the threat of feeling unsafe in those spaces. So it is, in addition to our commitment to health equity, we have also over 50 programs and services at the Health Department that serve primarily members of the community in the surrounding areas from where we are today in Waukegan, Zion, North Chicago, and other communities that have a larger population of low-income or minority or immigrant community members in there. So I'm very excited to be here and to help link the work of the Health Department with all of the individual and collective efforts that you all bring to the table today.
Hi, good morning everyone. My name is Samantha Salcido and I am the health educator for Erie Family Health in Waukegan. A little bit about our organization. Erie is a community health nonprofit that provides high quality, affordable care to support healthier people, families, and communities. And a little bit about my why. I work in public health and I joined Erie because I believe that healthcare is a human right. I wanted to support their work in closing care gaps and addressing inequities in Lake and Cook County. And in my role, I provide one-on-one and group education to help patients manage their chronic conditions and live healthier lives. Thank you.
Good morning, friends. My name is Barbara Waller, and I'm privileged to serve as the Executive Director of the Cool Learning Experience. So the invitation is thrown to you now. You want to have a cool summer, call me. I'll be there. I am not going to speak. Being Executive Director, I have a privilege of appointing and inviting others to be the voice for the program. So I am going to do that now with the young woman who's been with us many years, and I will let her give more of the why. I will end this saying that my why is based on a statement by Frederick Douglass. It's easier to build healthy children than repair broken men. It's easier to build healthy children than to repair broken men. So we in the building and construction business. Thank you. Here you go, Kimberly.
That was a nice way of being told what to do, right? The privilege of being able to, yes. No, I am not Miss Coyote or Barbara, aka Barbara Waller, aka Miss Coyote. I'm actually Kimberly, aka Miss Monarch Butterfly. Because in Cool Learning Experience, we all have nature names. And in fact, the first week, we usually get our nature names. Here we are. Nature names. So we get a chance to think about who we're going to be. And the strangest thing is, by the end of that summer, you realize why that child is Tiger Salamander, why she's a coyote. So there's always something that plays itself out before we even can imagine it to be. I want to thank you. This is so hard to breathe with. If I stay really far away, is that okay? Yeah. Take it off. You can take it off. I want to thank our longtime collaborator, Brushwood, because you believe in building with us. Most recently, Brushwood, and is the PowerPoint up? That's a little nature interlude. It's silent to me, but we'll keep going. Most recently, Brushwood, along with the College of Lake County Lakeshore, has joined with us to support our very first digital fellow. That is the international filmmaker, Emmett Williams, who will be teaching our children film as well as the students. Thank you, Emmett. And we're inviting each of you to Lights, Camera, Take Action. Lights, Camera, Take Action, where Emmett will be screening the film and facilitating a discussion around the topics that connect all of us, beginning with food, because everybody eats, or do they? And that's what we'll be talking about. And there will be organizations there who are very deeply entrenched in this conversation about food security and insecurity. So on August 20th, mark that on your calendars, and every Friday before Art Walk, this fall we'll join together to create conversations in the heart of Waukegan, again at the College of Lake County Lakeshore campus. I believe we've spoken to our elected officials here today at some point, or we will be shortly, because surely everyone in public service champions the opportunity to have healthy discourse, which is the cornerstone of our democracy. Are we good? Because I can't see the PowerPoint because the screen is not up.
You can bring the mic over here.
Okay.
Next one.
We didn't do the first one yet. Well, you know what? How many people here are tired of looking at a screen all day? After 2 years of COVID. Okay, so if y'all don't mind, as they say, if y'all don't mind, I'm just going to do a little bit of moving around, just like now, because, you know, I'm a teacher. I already have on my teacher attire, the gym shoes, the rubber bands. I got my masking tape. I got my teacher bag. Perfect. Wonderful. Thank you. All right. So we have actually a few volunteers in the office who are going to be. There are team readers, because a lot of time what we do in Cool Learning Experience from the beginning is working as a team, which is very apropos since we're talking about collaboration today. So let's learn in a really cool way. If you just tell me.
Okay, yep, you just scroll.
Oh, it's fancy.
It's fancy.
So I might need help after all. Okay, this is going to be a hybrid learning model. Let me say, Cool Learning is a 15-year-old organization co-founded by Keith, Mr. Raccoon Sir, Ms. Coyote, with the belief that the time in nature is critical to a healthy childhood. We are rooted in the culturally vibrant city of Waukegan, Illinois. The culturally vibrant city of Waukegan, Illinois. Right here in Lake County, where our nature buddies enjoy a rich blend of learning adventures for up to 8 weeks in the summer. And will the members of the CLE family raise your hands for us? We have Dr. Wiggly Worm. She really goes like Wiggly Worm. You can stand up, Rita Sakai. Thank you for coming. We have Lee Sweezel, Child Lily, my little lunar moth, and where is Black Bear? That's our camera person, Black Bear. So you, yeah, I know they're wonderful, because they help do all this. Because we figured if you didn't come to CLE, we wanted to bring a cool learning experience to you. So what you see here is work that was created by the children, the posts are probably for by the teachers, but the rest is actually children made, children born, and children's hearts who took the time to create them. So thank you very much for allowing us to have that space, Brushwood. That was a little bit extra at the last minute. So why are we doing what we do? There's a folder insert. It gives you our mission statement. It gives you our vision statement. What do we do? Go to the website. You're going to see a lot of green spaces and happy faces. And you can do that at your leisure. You'll also find our core practices. And today we have several friends who are going to make them come alive. So where's number one? What are the core practices of cool learning? Yes?
Engage families.
Okay, well that's a low way. Okay, all right, engage families. Yes, number two. Cultivating leaders. Number three.
Educate children.
Educate children, very important. Number four.
Champion futures.
All right, champion futures. Number five. Got a little excited. Go ahead, number five.
Celebrate nature.
Celebrate nature. Number six.
Inspire well-being.
And number seven. And that's my little Luna mom. Thank you, sweetheart. She actually did all the signs. So let's, That's great, right? So let's talk about definitions. I think it's really important. Amos Wilson says that there's a political economy to definitions. And so if we don't, sometimes we kind of stub our toe by not trying to communicate when we may use the same buzzword but have the same language. So this is how cool learning looks at health equity in terms of everyone having the access to the healthiest life possible. Doesn't matter your zip code, doesn't matter how much money you make, whether you're pink, purple, you are valuable just because you are here. So that's our definition of health equity. It's a broad definition. I know others focus on perhaps just the healthcare practice part, but we have allowed it to be expansive. If you'd like to know more, website, email. But what about education? What is our ethos? We have 4 beliefs. Helpers again. A, letter A.
Sense of belonging.
Sense of belonging, letter B.
Giving back.
Giving back is important, letter C.
Experience learning.
Experiential learning. Yes, that was close. And D?
Resilience.
Awesome, resilience. So you now know the who, what, where, why, and more of the how if you look around the room. But I'd like to take us a little bit deeper. Am I doing this right, Catherine?
Scroll down.
Let's go.
Fingers are on the side.
Oh, scroll down like this. Okay, wonderful. So let's think about cool learning experience very quickly as a tree. If CLE were a tree, we would start with the roots. We have a research and evidence-based grounding where we look at decolonizing methodologies, Paulo Freire, critical literacy. Of course, we have reflexive pedagogical influences that are culturally relevant, culturally engaged. You'll see Barbara Sizemore. You'll see, more importantly, the lived experiences of the people in which we work with, because it's iterative. That's why you're going to find CLE is probably not only unique in Lake County, Illinois, the state, but the nation for what we do with the price point for which we do it, which is less than $6 a day. So our children are surveyed, they're assessed, as are their parents. We get parent testimonials, we get that data, we collect it, we analyze it, and we look for patterns, and we try to change according to the needs of the people of the community in which we serve. So that, I think, is a key important part about what we do. And if you keep on going, we start, as I said, 2nd through 9th graders, 2nd and 3rd graders. Our focus is ecological awareness. So once we have the roots, we start with nature appreciation. Everybody wants to go outside. We have a native plant garden, we have a pollinator garden. We want them to enjoy the experience, which is why every single Friday, every child gets to go to Waukegan Beach just to be outside and absorb it all. But we also make sure we pair that with environmental awareness. I know that some people think nature and environmental awareness are interchangeable, but actually we think about environmental awareness because we start systems thinking at second and third grade in a very small way. Environmental awareness is the students understanding that they are part of an ecosystem. And because the environment is the built environment, the natural environment, the human environment, nature is one part of that environment. And then, of course, we have the grounding of social emotional literacy, which we come through with our peace pause. And that information actually is in the binder in the other table. So the peace pause is an opportunity for the students to be looking at the 5 key competency skills according to the Center for the Advancement of Social and Emotional Learning. So this gives you an idea of what that SEL looks like. We do it with the humanities. And again, that was iterative because our parents said after COVID, my kid's been inside, he's missed music. So we had music, we had poetry, we had dance, we had drama. The peace pause, and of course service learning, which is an important part of social awareness, which is a key piece of social and emotional learning. So when we go up to 4th and 5th grade, because you see it builds and broadens, we continue with nature appreciation, SEL, and then we bring in the civic engagement. So students okay, 4th, I'm already out of time. Okay, 4th and 5th grade, 6th, 7th. You see, I get excited, you know, I'm a teacher. 8th and 9th grade. Well, let me just show you the final one. If you're moving on up, who was my timekeeper? She left the room. Okay, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, civics, 6th, 7th, advocacy, 8th, 9th, career readiness. And unfortunately, we wouldn't have enough apples, which would be the fruit for all of the tree. But the thing to keep in mind is that we have our student testimonials, we have the evidence that they're happy, and more than anything, we have the fact that our students are building sense of self-efficacy and a sense of agency because they are going out into the community and making a difference. So, sorry for the rush.
All right, let's give our panelists, I'll go ahead and take that. Let's give our panelists a hand here. Obviously, you can see that there is a lot of passion in the work that's being done, and we need people who have passion and focus on doing this kind of work. We're going to hear from our panelists now with some specific questions. We'll start with Natalia. Natalia opened her comments by talking about a report that the Rushford Center is working on. And so, Natalia, I would like for you to talk about this report in terms of its value, its connection to policy and advocacy. In other words, what's the why? What's the big deal of this report?
Thanks, Marvin. Yeah, so we are in the process of creating a health equity and nature report. So we're collecting data, not only environmental justice data, and using the community health assessment that Lake County Public Health has been working on to embed it into this report. But also we're going to be including data about access to green spaces because all of this data is everywhere, so we want something that is tangible and centralized. That way when people are asking us, show us the numbers, we can give them this resource. And something that's really important to us is that it's accessible. So not only the way that we're distributing it, but also in the creation. So we just hired 2 fellows that will be helping me. And so we'll be surveying the community about what they want to see in this report as well as in the pilot program, but also in how we're distributing it to the public as well. And making sure that this report not only contains jargon that is for public health officials or elected officials, but really is something that anybody can understand. And I think the why is easier to explain in an example, but kind of touching on Eddie's story, there are communities who aren't aware that these issues are happening. And so by this report and having access to this information, not only are we representing everybody that is in the community, but if a family member sees that in their neighborhood they are more prone to getting asthma, then hopefully that can be a catalyst to reach out to their care team. And hopefully if there is a care team or a doctor who wasn't aware of these issues, maybe that will prompt them to actually ask questions of what neighborhood do you live in? Because if you live in this specific neighborhood, then maybe you should be assessed for asthma. And I know that's putting accountability on the individual, so I think a big hope is that elected officials will take some of that accountability and create legislation to start changing these systems. I could go on, but I'll hand it over to Eddie.
Thank you. And so, Eddie, you talked about asthma and that the notion of environmental justice. Could you kind of add a little more color to that in terms of the role of environmental justice and health equity, not just globally, but with a specific lens on us here in Lake County?
Well, yeah, I'd like to start off by, saying that the area that we're in, it exemplifies the definition of what environmental justice is. We have the coal plant, its coal ash ponds, the 5 Superfund sites, pollution from a class 1 carcinogen known as ETO, where the facility is literally a mile down the road. Everyone who lives here, is a part of an environmental justice community. And so, there's really scary stats and, figures. Catherine was talking about the 14-year life, it was Catherine? Okay, sorry, I got confused. But the 14-year life expectancy difference, just, a few miles, how big that is, that's scary. The fact that me choosing to continue living here means that I may have a lower life expectancy. That's something that these people in these communities have to face. And I feel like we need to start by addressing, our neighbors, these polluters. NRG, Medline, Abbott, Abbey, they fund a lot of, social events, they sponsor a lot of the things that happen on in the community, but we need to address that, they're not being good neighbors. They may put front, oh, hey, here's some money for this, for that, but in reality, they're polluting, how can you be a good neighbor when you're literally poisoning and decreasing the life expectancy of the people that live here? The solutions to these, these issues are really nuanced. They're really difficult to navigate because these corporations, they employ a lot of the community. We can't just try and kick them out and, get them to leave. If they do leave, they're just going to set up in another place, another community. This is something we need to address at the bigger level. We can't just say, oh, let's ban ETO. Let's kick out Medline. We need to really sit down and figure out, get them to, develop different ways to, sterilize so that they don't have to use ethylene oxide. And we can't just acknowledge these issues, but we need to sit down with local leaders who are on the ground doing this work so we can figure out how to actually, change this at the bigger level. We can't just say, oh yeah, we recognize EJ, that's an important issue. We need to actually have elected officials, community leaders, the community. We need everyone to step in so we can change this. No one should have to live in an environmental justice community. And I feel like it is possible. Someday, I hope Waukegan and Zion or Chicago, this area, isn't known as an environmental justice community, but just a community.
Our next question is for Anna, representing Lake County Health Department, and we're very pleased to have a progressive health department here in Lake County that looks for community input, and very happy to have been part of that, of a process several years ago around that. Anna, could you kind of speak to the why that community input is vital to informing the work that you do, and speak about the community health assessment process?
Absolutely. So, as public health practitioners, or if any of you are experts in your field, which I'm sure many of you are, we are very used to having the answers, to knowing what we need to do, to knowing what's the right next step. And when we take a health equity approach, we have to humble ourselves and have to recognize and acknowledge that the people that are experts on the problems that are happening are the people that are experiencing those problems on a day-to-day basis. And we have to be committed to listening and learning from our community members who can guide us and share with us where the top needs and priorities are in order to help make their health a reality, to help make health accessible for them given the daily realities that they're dealing with. So as part of our commitment to listening and learning from the community, we conduct a community health assessment about every 3 years. And this is our opportunity for our community to share with us what they are feeling, what they are experiencing, what their priorities are. And we just concluded our assessment process a couple of weeks ago where we have analyzed some of the data, and our community group, our community coalition is called Live Well Lake County. I see many familiar faces from that coalition here today. We are going to be working to prioritize what we collectively as a community want to work on for the next 5 years through our Community Health Improvement Plan, which I mentioned earlier. So I do want to share briefly just some data that we collected from our community health survey about this topic in particular, because it is so important. As Eddie was saying and Natalia was saying, we have to know what's going on. We have to know where the challenges are before we can responsibly make data-informed decisions on what we want to do moving forward. So in our community health survey, which almost 2,000 people in Lake County completed, we asked questions about the environment and about people's experience with accessing green spaces. And not surprisingly, we found some pretty significant inequities along racial, ethnic, and geographic lines when it comes to how people are able to access those spaces. So, for example, one of the questions we asked was about whether or not people had safety, access, or maintenance concerns with their parks and green spaces in their neighborhoods. And what we found out was that while about 1 in 5 community members who identify as white reported having some of those concerns, those numbers were really different in our communities of color. 1 in 2 Black or African American community members had those concerns. 2 in 5 Asian community members, and 1 in 3 Latinx community members had those concerns. So it is really important for us to be able to collect and analyze this data and then use this data to help inform our priorities as a community, to help inform where our investments are going as a community, so that we can really leverage what we have collectively to make the biggest impact for our community members.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Sam, you represent Erie, and Erie serves a lot of the vulnerable population here in Lake County. Could you kind of speak to the role of health educators and the role that they play in serving this community, and how we members of the larger community, can work in tandem and support the work that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for your question. You know, through my work, I have found that health educators help close care gaps and address inequity in 2 ways. First, we provide education and raise disease awareness to help patients manage their chronic conditions. I give patients information to empower them and allow them to take a more active role in their care. Second, through our work, we engage with residents of our community to identify the barriers they're facing. Every day I have patients tell me they can't afford food, medicine, or rent. And these are examples of inequity we are actively working to address. It is my responsibility and my pleasure to help connect them with community resources. You know, because of the many barriers people face in our community, health information is often only sought out by individuals after they experience a health crisis. Therefore, I often meet my patients after the fact, following an ER visit or abnormal lab results. However, the goal of my work is to provide health education preemptively by bringing information to individuals in their own community. Erie has begun this work with our monthly virtual classes, which are available in 2 languages and open to the public. I am furthering this work by creating additional points of contact within the community. For example, I have provided nutrition classes to local teachers and am partnering with the City of North Chicago at their newly established farmers market. And I am here today to talk about the value of health education as a preventative health care measure. In the right time and place, it can close care gaps and address inequity. So now I would like to throw it back to you all. Today I am seeking to build partnerships to bring health education to places where individuals already congregate. And I would like to partner with anyone in the audience that would like to bring health education to their community. Thank you.
Thank you. Just before we ask our last question, she indicated that she's interested in partnership. And so in each one of your folders, there is a commitment card. And so before you leave today, in fact, if you don't mind, even during the next few minutes here, take a look at this card and identify a place where you'd like to offer your support or your commitment, because we really do want to be in touch with you post-event and hopefully create a sense of community that allows for us to really advance the ball here. Our final question for our panelists is for Dr. Kimberly Waller, and you've already heard part of her presentation today, but would you mind just speaking to how engaging our youth in this process is crucial for really creating health equity here in Lake County?
Okay, but I have to set my timer because that's what happened last time.
I'll let you know. You have 2 minutes.
Okay, wonderful. Not to problematize the question, but an exercise that we do in our school, in Cool Learning Experience, is we have a mural on our wall. One's an empathy muscle and one's a resilience muscle. Because resilience is really so key to what we talk to our students about. And I'd like us to think about, this is how I would say, boys and girls, what if every time somebody came to your house, they rang the doorbell with a chunk of change and all they saw about your house was the flaws, how raggedy it was, and that's all they could talk about. And they didn't see the love inside of it. They didn't smell that good home cooking. They didn't see how you had taken those shoestrings and held that house together for all those years. They didn't see your resilience, because that's what privilege is, not having to see you. So imagine how many times you would let them ring your doorbell again and again to tell you what was wrong with your house before you just stopped answering. And then they walked away and shook their head and said, they don't care. When the flaw was not in the response, the flaw was in the approach. So I'd like us to reconceptualize what we do with our students is we give them a pair of glasses. They get a celebratory lens and they get a critical lens. The critical lens is Paulo Freire, they read the world, they are aware of a social justice issue, then they move towards advocacy, then they move towards action. And that action piece is what builds that sense of self-agency. And I know because I saw it in Ms. Wiggly's room last year, and you may have seen it in water signs around the community. But we have to reconsider, what would the conversation be if I met you in a way where we collaborated? Because collaboration is reciprocity, not charity. Charity says I can come in and fix it. Reciprocity, collaboration says I see the value in you and what your community has to offer. Maybe it's just the social systems of the church, maybe it's just the gossip line, but that gets the word of mouth out. And so what would it be like if our students, because this is what they do, they recognize it, they celebrate it, and they leverage those resiliencies in order to have a conversation to approach the problem and address it in a way that's constructive and builds the value of the people in the community. Because there's a difference in working with the community and working in community. Sorry, but my alarm clock didn't go off, so I must be able to.
So you've heard our elected officials a little while ago kind of speak to some of the things that they're doing and the influence that they're playing. You've heard practitioners who are in the game, in the fight, and you've heard and felt their passion in this particular space. But you're here today for a reason. One, because you're interested in this. You've sat through this experience of the last couple of hours or so, and so we're thankful for your interest, but we really want to coalesce it. And we want to coalesce it into a place of action. So at each table, we're going to invite you to participate in a table discussion. we're behind time, so I'm going to take some moderator liberty here and ask that you would complete this just before 11. But here's what I want you to do at your table. I want you to talk about the so what in terms of how you feel compelled to act, where you feel compelled to act. So our discussion is not just to be about the issues, it's not just about talk, it's about what are we going to do. So introduce yourselves to each other, what are we going to do in terms of collaboration, as Dr. Kim just said, right? Or is it about data collecting? Is it about establishing a forum to take action? That's what we really want to translate this discussion into action. So introduce yourselves to each other at your table, real quick, like 5 seconds or so each, but then get to action. All right? Thank you very much. Thank you for participating in this discussion. Again, our challenge, and we know it's a tall order to really give you 20 minutes on such a subject, and then to say, let's move toward action. The great thing is that, change like this takes time, and we want you to be part of that process of change. So be sure that you complete your commitment card. You can leave it right there in the center of your table, because Rushwood will want to get a hold of you later. All right, let me just see here. Could we take maybe a minute or two for maybe about 2 or 3 tables? All right, there's a hand up already. She's already volunteering. Is there another table that's like extraordinarily passionate and wants to share with us a couple of your action items? All right, that table there. All right. We have 2 tables. Can I see your hand? Was that really passionate, or was that like? All right, we got you. All right, so we have 3 tables. All right, so let me have you. Who's going to speak from this table? All right, why don't you come up? Let's give this table a hand. Woo-hoo! So really, we really like to hear what are the actions that your table discussed that they would commit to. So in this brief report out, we don't really want to talk about the problem per se, but we've talked about that, right? We want to talk about what are you committing to? What's the action there? All right, please.
We were really lucky at our table to have folks from a lot of different, we have elected officials, we have forest preserve folks, we have county folks, we have community-based organizations, we have nutritionists, health gardeners, and community college folks. So it was really interesting to have a diversity of people, and I swear I didn't plant the seed, but we were talking about food. I didn't bring it up, but the idea is that we'll continue to connect around how food impacts the environment, how food impacts our individual health, how food needs to be accessible, healthy, wholesome, nutrient-dense food that's grown in a way that feeds the environment rather than extracts from the environment, brings everybody up. So that's what we're going to continue to do. Continue the conversation, and really, CLC, and collaborate on, CLC, we are building a convening space in downtown Waukegan for these kinds of conversations and action to continue, so that's what we're going to do.
Awesome, thank you very much. Let's give that group a hand. We're going to continue the conversation, we're going to move toward collaboration. Excellent. We have a representative from this table. Thank you very much. Awesome, thank you.
We also had a great group here. We had some doctors, professors, elected officials, passionate people, and one of the things that we talked extensively about is safety and accessibility, making sure that green spaces are accessible and safe for people. And so, and that can mean a lot of things. That can mean being outside at night. That can mean that you can walk 10 minutes and get to a green space safely by sidewalks. We talked about gun safety, and that's something that's now a community, everybody has to be aware of what concerns that brings. So accessibility, connection, community, food was also a big topic that we talked about as well. So healthy, accessible food like farmers markets, community gardens, and things like that.
Excellent, thank you very much. And then in the rear. All right, excellent. Now I realize that perhaps I was leaning or looking over at this side and maybe I missed someone over here. Okay, all right, so I'm going to get you as well. All right, excellent.
No, thank you. We talked about how you can't step around politics and legislation in this work. So we talked about advocating and voting for, climate-forward politicians who are going to call out some of the over-pollution from corporations, fight back against that, because that's something that I think we all need to be on the same page about. And then the other was just serving as champions to educate folks, because I think, when you hear the data such as our colleagues share that 1 in 3 people in the community have asthma, I think that moves people in a way that we all need to serve as champions of the data, because when you hear things like that, it moves your heart and mind and leads to transformational change.
Wow, good stuff. Thank you so much. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Maria Nava. I am the Community Engagement Manager at Warren Newport Public Library. We had a great table. We have people from Erie Healthcare. We have people from Mano Mano and Raleigh School District. And one of the things that we talked about, I think, is the importance of coming together in collaboration, right? Leaders, community members. How great is it that we have a coloring book with our local activists or local artists representing our community, representing the things that affect our community. One of the things that I'm really focusing on in my community is collaboration, and we've already committed to collaborating. We've already committed to bringing Erie to Warren to help within our community minimize the inequality to health care and kind of bridge that gap for people, for our patrons and other community members. The other thing that we've also, Mano Mano will actually be at an event that we will be hosting in July that will give resources to our community about partnerships within our community, and also that they will be able to better understand the resources from other amazing organizations and from leaders. I know Senator Lindsey Johnson, I've been talking to Ms., and he's been helping with ideas within our community, giving us feedback from community members that he's boots on the ground all the time, and to have that impact, but to be able to collaborate with important organizations like that is what's really important at the end of the day to help elevate our community and get rid of a lot of inequality that we're facing, not only in healthcare, access to nature, or just other resources that a lot of our communities need at the moment. So I'm really happy to have attended an event like this and to be part of collaborations like this.
Awesome, thank you very much. So it's clear none of us can do this work by ourselves, right? It takes a team in order to achieve greatness. All right, this will be, all right, we have one more?
Very short.
Okay, please, come on. We'll take a moment, absolutely. And then you two will be our final ones, okay? Excellent, go right ahead.
Hi, I'm Ellen Ewing from Growing Healthy Veterans. So we had a great table discussion that centered around the fact that healthcare, access to healthcare. We had a physician who talked about how she just doesn't have time to really spend with her patients because it's like a factory. She has to move forward. We had a woman from Erie talking about how they don't have the resources to get new people, and so how we really need as a community to educate the people in the community about what their resources are, what the situations are, that they might have asthma, that they might these other things, so that when they go to see their healthcare professionals, they're much more up on things and can ask direct questions and can really make use of the limited time that they have.
Thank you very much. Excellent. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Rita Sakai, and I'm with Cool Learning Experience. I'm known as Miss Wiggly Worm, my nature name. And in our table, we talked a little bit about curriculum and how we can continue educating the children and bring awareness about our environmental issues. So we are committed to continue our collaboration with Rushford Center, and also perhaps use data that our colleague was talking about, and then using data and then talk about curriculum and awareness, ecological awareness, social awareness, and the list goes on.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Wow. The energy is palpable, but it takes a team for us to achieve this, right? No one person achieves greatness by themselves. And so I think the watchword today has been collaboration. And so we appreciate Brushwood for playing a convening role as well as a leadership role in making this happen. Before we conclude, one of our speakers spoke about the coloring book. And so we've asked Eddie to give us a 45-second just commentary on this coloring book. It's in each one of your folders, and it catalogs some of Eddie's journey. So Eddie, stand and share with us a little bit about your coloring book.
Yeah, so this coloring book is a super cool collaboration that Brushwood came to us about. They teamed up with a local artist, Diana Nava from Round Lake, and they were able to interview me and put my story in a way that's accessible to children, a way that preschool, elementary school kids can understand it. And it's super cool because it gets them talking about environmental justice, and it's both in English and Spanish, so it's super accessible to all, especially to parents who may not have time to come to events like these to learn about environmental justice. They're more focused on more immediate needs like working their jobs, making sure their kids are going to school, putting food on the table. And so it makes it accessible because these kids, they'll learn about environmental justice and they can talk to their parents about it. And since it's both in English and Spanish, the kids are able to speak to their parents without having to worry about translating it or what these terms mean. There's a glossary at the rear that defines a lot of these words. So it's it's been super cool, and I'm super thankful that we can share this story and get more people to learn about environmental justice.
Excellent. And you're yeah. Excellent. Natalia or Catherine, did you have a closing comment? And then we want to introduce, you'll introduce then our young student here who's going to present something. All right? Awesome. What's your name? Lunama, that's right, Lunama. It's been my honor to serve you today, and thank you. Keep up the good work, folks.
Thank you, Marvin, for being our MC, and I just wanted to thank you all for coming here. I know I haven't met a lot of you all, and I'm new to the Midwest, so I'm just happy to meet you all. There are some sticky notes, and you all filled out a commitment card, so if you'll just put everything into the manila folder, we will be following up with you all in coming days to talk about these commitments. And then we'll have our student close us out.
I made a gratitude jar last year, and I wanted to show one of the things that I'm thankful for, and I said I'm thankful for my mom and trees.
Thanks, everybody. Wish you an incredible day. Thank you to Brushwood and to all of our community organizations, politicians that have made this day.
Yeah, sounds like we're